Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Discover Your Sacred Gifts webinar. We are doing this webinar because we wanted to give you a little nugget, a little bit of a glimpse at how the weekend of February 2nd and 3rd is going to be. We are going to have a fabulous time. I have done this workshop before and I was blown away. Absolutely loved it. So without any wait, let's introduce the fabulous, the amazing, the spiritual, and oh my God, I could use so many words, but the creator of Discover Your Sacred Gifts, Monique MacDonald. Hello, Monique.
Hey, Bridget. Nice to be here.
Nice having you here.
Thank you.
Tell us about the workshop. Why would people come and attend a 2-day workshop about sacred gifts?
Well, Bridget, why wouldn't they come? They get to spend 2 days with you and me, right?
Well, you do have a point there. They might be tired, though, at the end. The two of us tag teaming is like, ooh, you're going to have a lot of stuff going on.
There'll be lots of energy for sure. Why do people come? The reason people come typically is, first of all, they want to know what their sacred gifts are. And that's for sure a big chunk of what we're going to be doing, because the concept of sacred gifts for a lot of people is a new idea. They don't really know, well, what does that mean? Do I have any? What are they? If I find out what they are, how's it going to change my life? Are there some I don't have? Do I only have one? Do I have more than one? I'm in transition. I don't know what I want to do next. I hate what I'm doing right now. I'm doing a job I don't like. I'm in the discovery process. I'm just wanting to find out more about myself, about others. So there's all kinds of reasons why people come. And there are people who just love live events, right? They love the energy of a live event. Bridget, I can assure you there's going to be people who come who have actually done it before. And that they've come to it before, they have experienced it before, and they're going to come to get it at an even deeper level. And so there's lots of reasons to come. There's not a lot of reasons not to come.
And how many of those events have you done, do you think? Do you know the number? How many big 2-day workshops have you done?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that. I don't know the number, but I've been doing the 2-day live event. I did my first one in 2004. And I was
doing... You must have been like early 30s.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yeah.
So 2004.
Yeah, and I was doing up to, there were years where I was doing up to 5 2-day events per year. And many years ago, actually, I used to go to Calgary. I think probably, I'm going to say maybe 10 years ago, I did a live event in Calgary, Edmonton. But then I really settled in staying in the Vancouver area, and then people were coming to us. So it's really fun for me to take this on the road. I'm excited.
Woo woo! Now, what are the benefits to do a workshop as opposed to do the one-on-one training with you or the audio training?
Right. And they all have their benefits. I really trust that the people who, and I encourage people to trust that, if they feel called to come to a live event, that it's going to be exactly the right experience for them. So at a live event, there is first of all, just the energy of people being together. We have an amazing AV guy that comes. And so from the time you arrive, there's just great music playing. I mean, really great music playing. And so right away, it really kind of raises the energy of just being there. It's a really feel-good environment that we create. So it's casual, it's fun, it's interactive. So when you're at a live event, you get the opportunity to be able to, right in the moment, ask questions, be able to, which you're not going to get if you're listening to an audio, for example, right? So you can put up your hand anytime. I mean, we encourage that, to ask a question, to get clarity, to make it make sense for you. We have activities that you do together. There's activities we do in groups. We put people sometimes in a partnership. And now for some of you listening, if you're an introvert, I want you to know, first of all, I'm an introvert. So when I go to a workshop,
I am not.
Yeah, I know you're not. So when they're going to put me into an activity, if I'm participating in an event, I do kind of get that moment of, oh, I'm just going to go stand in the bathroom, right? I know that about myself. And so I always say I have great fun in putting people into activities because I know what it's like when I'm sitting in the seat. But I also know that if it's uncomfortable for you and you come to an event and you want to just sit there and you just want to take notes and you don't really want to interact, you can do whatever you want at this event. It's going to be up to you to take out of it what's right for you. I always encourage people to be willing to do their 100%. So your 100% of showing up at an event like this is going to be totally different, for example, than mine or Bridget's, right? It's just going to be what it is. So you come with an open mind, an open heart. You're willing to learn something new. You might be willing to stretch your boundaries a bit. It might feel a bit uncomfortable. But honestly, we do everything we can. And Bridget, you know that, to create an environment where people feel like they can just be themselves and it's totally okay. I ask a lot of questions. I'll be like, put up your hand, and some people hate putting up their hand, and it's okay. And after a couple hours, we're laughing about it, right? So you get to come and have the experience that you choose to have. As a matter of fact, one of the things we do really early on in the workshop, Bridget, is we set an intention. And I'm telling you this now so that those of you that are listening and you come to the workshop, you can even prepare this in advance. We're going to be asking you to, just set an intention for what do you want from these 2 days. And it's not going to be, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to set an intention to discover your sacred gifts because you're going to do that. That's what we're there to do. So you don't need to set an intention that I want to know what my gifts are. You want to take it further than that. What's your intention in finding out what your gifts are? What is it you want to do with that? What is it that you're wanting? Are you wanting more meaningfulness in your life and in your work? Do you want to feel more on purpose? Do you want to enjoy more satisfaction? Are you doing stuff that you're good at doing but sucks the life out of you and you want to be able to do things that make you feel energized, right? So you're going to get to set an intention right away at the beginning of this event. And then you know what? Then that carries you through it. Like it really does. It really does.
The one part I'd like to add as well, and it's because we are there to discover our sacred gifts. So whether you are an introvert or an extrovert, you are part of this and you embrace who you are. You just try to be all of what you are and then some, but it's everybody finds a piece, no matter what your gifts are and what you're good at. And then you also find out what you're not good at, and it's all just so beautiful. And the other thing I want to add that's extremely important to me is how kick-ass of a teacher you are. You are just so good. Like you just shine on stage. And I still shake my head sometimes how you keep saying you're an introvert, and you're not a good hostess, but you're so good. Like you're magical on stage. So that's another reason why you want to come to a 2-day workshop, because you get to experience Monique on stage, which is a whole different level.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate that feedback. And that speaks to my gift of teaching. So that isn't who I am. And this is a core part of what we're going to be talking about at the event, is understanding the difference between our humanness, who we are as a human. So in my humanness, I'm introverted. I'm not particularly very social. I am, I'm pretty self-confident. Like in my humanness, I've worked on that a lot. In my beingness, which is where my gifts lie, I have a gift of teaching. I haven't gone to teaching school. I am not a school teacher. I've never been in the profession of teaching, but it's always been a part of me. And this is what sacred gifts are about when you discover this. It's easy and effortless for me to convey information to people in a way that they can understand it. And it's not, when I say that, you guys, I'm not saying that bragging. I'm saying that is the gift I have that's in me. I can't even explain it. I don't know how it came to be. And that's a part of sacred gifts, is accepting that we have these abilities within us that we can't even explain how they got there. And that's the wonderful mystery of it, right? So I am good at teaching. And then the other thing, in my humanness, because I have an ego like everybody else, in my humanness, I love the feeling of making people laugh, right? Like I just love it. It's just so fun. So I always say, like, that event for me is an opportunity to be in my gift of teaching, and it gives me the platform to be a stand-up comic, which is what I kind of always wanted to do.
Woo-hoo! And you are funny.
So kick-ass is a good, when you say kick-ass, I think, well, I call myself a shift disturber, and I do challenge people at this event. We have fun and we laugh and we learn and all of that great stuff. But, it may come through me. I do have a gift of challenge, and that is one of the 24 sacred gifts. And it may happen that it might just come through me where I do challenge somebody. I would ask permission first, but that, it can happen. And that can create a shift for somebody. So the other thing that people get to experience at a live event is having those kind of aha moments, where you will hear something. I guarantee you, unless you've been to the event before, and even then you may hear something that you didn't hear the first time, you will hear some things you have never heard anywhere before. And you will hear some things that you can't hear anywhere else except at our event or in one of our programs, because it's stuff that I created, like the Feel on Purpose formula doesn't exist anywhere else. And when you really understand that, and you understand how your gifts play into that, it's a touch point for people years after they've done the workshop. People will give me feedback and say, I'm going through a transition again. I go back to that Feel on Purpose formula. I go back to looking at what are my gifts, what's meaningful to me, what's the right vehicle for me. So there's going to be some stuff that's just going to be brand new information. And then some of it is going to be, I've heard this before, but you might hear it differently. All I ask our participants to do is come with an open heart and an open mind, right?
I know. So if you're not intrigued by now with all this little terminology that Monique uses, you're crazy. I like the Feel on Purpose and the sacred gifts and your humanness versus your gifts. And it's just, at first when it all starts coming at you, it's kind of like, what's all that about? Like, is it just, a gimmick or, that's where I was when I first came in contact with you. And it's like, okay, well, let's lesson. And then you start, describing the gifts and how it shows up or how it doesn't show up. And you just kind of, whoa, this is amazing. And you just start realizing things about yourself that I've never gotten from other programs. So that's why I fell in love with Sacred Gifts. It is truly different than any other program out there.
Yeah, and you're going to hear things that it's the content, it's the teaching itself. The reason people have such profound experiences, and we have people that have physical, visceral reactions in their bodies when they're hearing some of this stuff at the event. So for example, if I'm speaking and describing, and in the event, we go through all 24 gifts and we show videos and examples, and we get to hear from you guys who have had, who have the gifts and actually can describe some of the experience you have. When I'm describing the gift or showing a video, there are people who will have a reaction in their body. Their heart rate starts going up. They start to feel almost like an energized shaking happening. And that's when you know that something for you that you are hearing in your soul is truth. And I call that truth with a capital T. When you hear something that creates that kind of response in your body, it's like your soul is hearing it. Your soul is like going, yes, 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 right? So it's always been easy for me to teach. And I've always gotten great feedback. And I was teaching stuff in nursing. I was a nurse for 33 years, right? So I did a lot of teaching, and my patients and their families would say, oh my goodness, like I feel so much better. I totally understand the test I'm going for. I created pamphlets. I started a whole movement at Vancouver General Hospital in creating little teaching pamphlets because it drove me nuts that some patients, now I understand, didn't have a nurse that had a gift in teaching or a doctor, and they'd be sent off to tests and they'd have no idea what they were going for. They didn't know what to expect. They didn't know how to prepare. They didn't know what to expect afterwards, and that made me nutty. I didn't know then that I had a gift in teaching. Once I understood this, once I came to understand these gifts and that I had this gift in teaching, now looking back over my life, all of a sudden it made sense. Oh my goodness, that's why I was compelled to create those things. And they still to this day exist. Somebody's made them fancier, but every single unit in the hospital now has a rack. You've probably seen them. And, there's a rack with all these little pamphlets explaining all the different tests you might be getting. And, I started that, but I didn't think of myself as a teacher. It was like this was a need that was not being filled. And through your gifts, any one of those 24 gifts, you will see needs out there in the world that need to be filled, and you will know inherently how to fill it. Whether it's something you make with your hands, whether it's photography that you do and you see a need for something and you fill it, that's when you know you're acting in alignment with your gifts.
I know. And the really cool thing about going to a workshop like this is that because they're your gifts, you're so good at it. You just think everybody should know that stuff. You don't even know you have those gifts. Like one of mine, for example, is a facilitator. You know, I put these events together and it was like 100. I had never done this before. And I had 150 people. I knew like the timing and you know, and people go, how did you do that? I was like, I don't know. Like, I just know how. I've never taken a course. So all the gifts seems to be that way quite often, is you don't even know you have it because you're so good at it.
Yes. And there are some that are viewed as being, you know, especially in the Western culture, there are some gifts that are viewed as being, that's a little bit weird, whereas some of them are so practical and so everyday that people who have them completely negate them. They do not see it as a gift. They think, come on, everybody does that, or that's not really a gift. I mean, who doesn't do that? And then I ask people, it's hilarious in the workshop, right? I'll say, okay, this happens all the time. Somebody will say, come on, everybody does that. You know, everybody wants to blah, blah, blah. And then I'll say, okay, by a show of hands, how many of you in this room want to do or are that person she just described? And maybe 2 hands go up. And then they go, what? You know, like all of a sudden they have this realization. And the judgment part of it, like there's one gift in particular that I definitely have. And in nursing, I was very judgmental of other nurses. And I used to think they were lazy. And I used to think, what's wrong with them? And why are they doing this? And then I realized there's people that go into nursing for different reasons. For example, some people may have more of a healing gift or a compassion gift, right? I didn't have either of those. I'm not a healer. And it's like, I can be compassionate in my humanness for sure, but I don't have that real gift of compassion and the nurses who did, I really saw it, right? But I am a worker bee. Like I can do the work of 5 people. And so if somebody called in sick, they knew they could come to me and say, can you pick up their load? Well, I'd complain about it and I'd be grumbling about it and I'd be, you know, gossiping about it to somebody else, but I could do it. I could always do it. It was only when I realized because of this gift I had, I could do that I could actually enjoy it and feel empowered by it and rise up to it and go, yes, I can do that instead of being judgmental about other people, right? So it was just all of it has been such a profound awakening and life-changing for me, like it has for you, Bridget, that putting on events like this is about being able to bring that experience to other people, right? So other people can have that, oh my gosh, I get it, feeling.
Yeah. So pick one moment that stands out in your mind from all the workshops, sacred gifts workshops you have done. Pick one moment that stands out for you.
There was a woman in, I think it was in Edmonton, and we were describing one of the gifts and she realized that was her. And she had spent over 20 years in a job that she loved, but her husband felt that she should be doing something else. And in the work that she was doing, she was working in an assistant kind of work, like executive assistant. So everything she did was for her employer. And she looked after that guy. She shopped for his kids' presents. She made sure his hair was combed before going into a meeting, whatever. She was like, she used to say, oh, yeah, I'm like his mother. But she really loved her job. And she got a lot of pressure from other people. When are you going to go find your own thing? When are you going to create your own vision? So then she started to feel bad that there was something wrong with her, that her dedication and devotion to making sure this person could reach their potential and that she loved doing that. She started questioning it. Finally, she got worn down, especially by her husband, so she quit the job. And when she heard me describe this gift and realized that was exactly the gift she had, she cried. She just cried. Anyway, she ended up phoning the employer. And it was just like the most amazing timing, right? That he, again, needed an assistant. She went back to that job and was just as happy as could be and was able to say to her husband and her family and friends, this is my life. you know, like, this is my life. This is what I want to do. I love doing this, and this is what I am going to do. And it is enough. And, you know, that to me was just, that's what this is all about.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, you know, the gifts you have and the gifts you don't have.
Yeah.
Um, what's been difficult for you hosting these events?
Nothing to do with the event itself. For me, I'm very clear my gifts are not in things like marketing and, you know, filling a room and venue logistics. And I can do that stuff. I'm actually pretty good at it. The difficult part for me is having to feel like I've got to convince people to come, because it's challenging, Bridget. I know how this is going to change people's lives. I know I've had people come in that are so skeptical, you know, and it's like, I'm not, you know, yeah, exactly. But even more skeptical than that. I mean, I was asked to do this event once to a group of people who'd all been fired, whose jobs were all being deleted, and they made this part of their transition out of the workplace. So I was in a room with people like this, you know, looking at me and snarling. And by lunchtime, they were having fun and they were laughing and, you know, they were getting it. So the hard part for me is really just not seeing that people in that room. Like, I just want to see everybody have this opportunity. It's 2 days out of people's lives. That's the hard part for me, is knowing there's people out there struggling that don't have this little piece of information. This isn't everything. I never pretend that, oh, this one thing, if you know this, you know, everything in your life's going to be different. What I know for sure is this is a foundational piece in everybody's life. It's a foundational brick in the building you're building, right? Like, it's a real cornerstone piece that will make a difference to the foundation of your life that you're building. So yeah, you know, it's hard to know there's people out there struggling when, man, they could just do this and it would make such a difference.
Well, I'm super, super excited to have you come to Calgary. Now, this is, you know, I own Women Talk, obviously, and most of well, all pretty much the events I do is for women, but this one is for both men and women together. And that's going to be really fun. I'm excited about that. When we first started talking, I thought, well, my brand is all about women. And then I thought, you know what, that would be fun. And just so you know, ever since we decided this, I've also been approached by a guy to do a Men Talk event.
Oh,
so
fun.
It's kind of like, okay, there's this new world opening now, because, you know, I haven't worked with men very much. So it's really cool. So I invite you to go to, let me just screen share here, because we have a coupon for you, and we'll be emailing you this coupon as well. Oops, I got some issue. There we go, screen share. So if you're watching this webinar or you registered for the webinar, you'll get this coupon. You can get $50 off. Now, the whole 2-day weekend is only $297. $297. That's crazy cheap. Do you go to those kinds of events? 2-day event? It's way more than that. My event is way more than that. And I know that Monique is going to wow you. You are going to leave there going, what just happened? This is so cool. And it was fun. I promise you it's going to be fun. That I have no doubt about either. So if you go to womentalk.ca/sacred gifts and you enter coupon code Rise and Grind, you'll get $50 off your ticket to come to the Sacred Gifts Workshop February 2nd and 3rd in Calgary. So again, go to womentalk.ca/sacred gifts. You'll read all the information about it there. Now, let me just have a look. We do have a question.
Right.
Chippo saying that she would give a testimonial. Do we want to bring Chippo on?
Yeah, Chipo, come on. Yes.
Chipo, let's start your camera. Let's unmute you.
Chipo has gone through our certification program. So Chipo is one of our Sacred Gifts certified guides.
Wonderful. Yeah. Welcome, yes. Chipo.
Thank you. That's why I'm here. I thought, well, if people want feedback from somebody else that has gone through it. You know, I met Monique a million years ago And we both happened to have been nurses, and we worked for a company in BC together. So that was really great. When she talked about it, I thought, I know my gifts, it was kind of, and then she goes, okay, let's go through. And she did my gifts. And I was like, one of my gifts is healing, but I thought it wasn't cool enough. I didn't want that. I didn't want to be called a healer. It was like, no, I don't want to do that. I was a nurse. I helped people, but it wasn't a gift. I didn't think anybody can become a nurse. But honestly, after going through that process with Monique, I just owned it. And now it's just exudes through me. I don't have to call myself I'm a healer, but it just comes out. One little story, I was on a plane one day, and these three women kept switching places to come and sit beside me. And I wondered why. And one of them finally said, can you just touch my legs? Because they are really sore. And I'm going, I don't know you. Why would I do that? So I realized it was this healing energy that was coming out.
And they could feel it.
Yeah, and they could feel it on a plane with like 200 people.
So how did that change you to know that one of your gifts was the gift of healing?
Well, when Monique went through that, it was like obvious, it was right there. But it was something that I just didn't want to associate myself with. Or I was afraid, or what, I don't know what it was. I just didn't. But then when I look back in my life, I go, I've always been that. But I just took it for granted that it was that.
So did it increase your gift? Did your gift become stronger?
Yeah, I think because I acknowledged them, I accepted who I was. I think that helped me to accept myself, accept what I already have. As to saying I should take this course so that I can become this, when really it's already inside me. The other gift was gift of teaching. My family, they're all teachers, everybody, and they wanted me to be a teacher. And you know what? I ran away from that. I chose to go and become a nurse because it was better than teaching. But my parents taught kids, and there was no way I wanted to teach kids. But then as I became a nurse, like Monique, I found, when I was in midwifery, it was like, okay, it's your turn to do the lecture. You're going to lecture to these women. I go, why? But now I realize that was the gift of teaching that everybody saw in me, and I did not see it. Sometimes we don't see them. I'm sure, Monique, you can agree with that. We don't see it, but other people see it. And I denied my parents. I fought with my parents about teaching. I said, I don't want to do that. But when I started as a nurse teaching adults, was like, oh, that's what I want to do. Now I teach. Yeah.
So we have to end this webinar, but Chippo, before we go, tell me, how much do you love Monique?
Oh my gosh. There are no words to say how much I love Monique. Monique is, like she said, she's an introvert. She kind of keeps to herself. There is that part of her, but then there is part of Monique that she wants to play. She wants to be out there, and she loves people,
Wonderful.
I say she has an archetype of a nun, but this is a playful nun I see in Monique.
So there you go, Monique. You're even considered a nun now. Like next step, you're like 1 inch away from sainthood.
That's right. Sister Act, Monique.
Thank you for your testimonial. Thank you, everybody, for registering. Now, before we go, I'm just going to show you again one more time. So you go to womentalk.ca/sacred gifts. Go and get your $50 coupon. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching the recording. And Monique, thank you. I am so excited to see you in a couple of weeks.
All right. We'll see you in Calgary.
Have fun, all of you in Calgary. I wish I was there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.